I am the Shadow Teacher 33, and I want to keep digging in to this concept of co-resonance, the law of co-resonance. That being when we vibrate and harmonize with other frequencies that are beyond us, or a reflection of what is within us that is without, and we start to co-create different types of circumstances in our outside world from this energy of co-resonance, from our intentional co-resonance with something that is beyond. And I want to talk about this law of co-resonance in terms of prayer. Now, many people who talk about manifestation, they talk about prayer and the way people pray as being a misalignment with higher power, as most people have learned to pray by begging. A lot of people beg for things, and what these manifestation coaches say, that when there is desire, there is separation, and the prayer from a point of separation reinforces the separation. And for the most part, I've found this to be true. Again, this is a Buddhist principle of desire being one of the roots of suffering. But it's also a Christian principle as well, as when the kingdom of heaven is within you, and you're reinforcing lack and separation from neediness and begging. But again, we live in a great world of paradox. And I've found in times when paradigms of the past, paradigms and beliefs that I held on to were failing me, and I was facing times of great suffering in my life, times of when old versions of me were dying and ending, and facing the suffering that goes along with this, and the catastrophe and chaos that was showing up in my world, where things were just falling apart, and it didn't make any sense to me. And in those moments, I humbly fell to my knees, and I asked God for help. I pleaded and I asked. And I was answered with blessings. I felt the presence of God, and I felt the love of God, and I felt something divine, something beyond me, answer this desperate call for help, this prayer coming from a place of need and separation, if you will. In those desperate moments, I felt a loving presence comfort me and answer my prayers, essentially, as far as giving me the strength to move on and help me take the right actions in the next day. I would have little synchronicities start to show up for me. And again, this wasn't coming from the I ams. This wasn't coming from the gratitude. It was coming from this place of desperation. And the gratitude definitely came when I saw the synchronicities. But once again, this is a great paradox, because this is sort of the opposite of what the manifestation coaches of saying, praying from certainty, praying from gratitude, praying from thanking God in advance for delivering. When I was in these places of just being broken, I prayed, and I was coming from neediness, and because I felt that my existence was coming to an end, and it wasn't in some way, shape, or form. The ego of that old version of me was dying, so something new could be reborn. But there was a loving presence there when I asked for help that reassured me that everything was going to be okay. And I was going to get through whatever that trial, that tribulation was. I've also seen positive results when I've asked for divine help for others, when I pray for others who are in desperate situations, and they've reached out to me and said, Jason, I'm really struggling and I need as much prayer or any help I can get, so please pray for me. And I would. And something would help them. They would reach out back to me and say, yeah, the prayer was answered, so thank you. So this life that we live, it is a great mystery. And I'm fascinated by the mystery of life, and I am on the path of understanding. And understanding is an ongoing, unfolding path. Awakening is an unfolding path. We don't become awake and then all is done and we know everything. We become these godlike beings just like that. We are human. We're meant to be human. We have the spark of the divine creator within us, and we can create with that spark, and we can co-create. And we can create from the ego as well. And usually what I find when we create from the ego, much of the time that causes suffering, and we violate the life process, and there's karma to reap from any suffering that we cause. But we have the divine spark of the Creator within us, yet we are in this human experience, this individual human experience that has its own limitations, in a sense. But when we tap into the creation, we tap into the co-resonance with something bigger, however that may be, whether that be aligning in our deeds, in our affirmations, or asking for guidance from a sincere, honest spirit. Again, that is the co-resonance. When one spirit is sincere, that is when God or higher beings show up, because the sincerity is the alignment. It's not the need, it's not the lack, it's not the separation, it's the sincerity, it's the affirmation that you are part of something bigger. And in that moment, you're affirming that, and you're calling on something bigger from a place of humble gratitude, even though you may not know it at the time. And I've never had a situation where God didn't show up and the right thing happened. But anyway, I'm going to end this transmission. Be strong, be well, and I'll see you on the other side, my friends.